All right, I guess I should do this. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to the channel. This is going to be the very first episode of something that I'm doing for this year. And I kind of want to have you guys be able to follow the process to give how it is that I go through my thought process and share that with you. Um, give you guys a little bit about me as a brief introduction. I'm just about to turn 40. I own a business in Boise, Idaho. I own my own barber shop, and I was homeschooled from sixth grade until I graduated high school. I grew up a military brat, so we moved all over the country. And, 3 years in Georgia, then Alaska, then back to Georgia, then in Hawaii. And then my family retired to Idaho in 2002. And I graduated early at 16 with a 3.8 and just went straight into the workforce. I never really did anything to further educate myself other than if I got bored in a job, I would learn a new skill to get a promotion. And then I would learn a new skill to get a promotion. I've done everything from staffing analytics to workforce management to people management to human resources to operations management. And now I own a successful business that is both award winning and has been open for over a decade. My wife and I decided this year that we wanted to make a goal out of scrolling social media a bit less. And she knew what she wanted to do. She immediately said, I want to learn all year long about the Roman Empire. So she went on to ChatGPT and said, help me create a 2026 syllabus of what it is that I need to know so that way I can know everything by the end of the year of this topic that I'm really interested in. Now, she asked me what it is that I wanted to do. What did I want to learn? And, the whole goal of this is at the end of the night, instead of showing each other cat videos, we're telling each other what it is that we learned throughout the day. And it's the first time in my current life where I have a successful business. I'm kind of in that comfortable space where I don't know what the next step is, but I also don't really know what it is that I want to learn. I certainly don't want to go to school. I was homeschooled my entire education, so the idea of classroom studies doesn't really work for me. But I have been playing around with AI models for the last couple of years to be able to really utilize them in my day-to-day, and not just for entertainment, but how can I actually improve my life? So for a while, I was using AI to kind of become a philosophical whetstone and be able to practice conversations that I would be able to have in the barber shop. So what I did is I changed all of the settings in my ChatGPT, and I'm just using the free version. I used to pay for the plus version, and now I just don't think that it's really worth it for what I'm using in life. I'm not using it to make constant media, so it's not worth it for me. So for anyone who's following along, what I'm doing is in the free versions. And I'm sure this will work with Gemini. I'm sure this will work with Copilot. I'm sure this will work with Claude. I'm sure this will maybe work with Grok. I don't know. I don't use those other ones because I'm familiar with this program and it's the one that I use. But the prompt that I started this whole thing out with is I want to create an educational curriculum for 2026. For context, I was homeschooled for my entire public education and graduated in 2002. I never went to college or university and have been in a blue collar trade for the past decade. There are things I have interest in: philosophy, filmmaking, physics, nuclear science. However, I have a very rudimentary understanding of these things, and I need to begin learning from a foundational level. I have a handful of tasks that I would like to accomplish today. The overall goal is to create a reading list and a list of accomplishments for 2026 in relation to my further education. In an effort to create that, I would like you to create a survey for me that will help you determine where my greatest interests are in, where my aptitudes will best serve me, as well as which focus will be able to provide me career opportunities that I can pursue with greater opportunity of success. Having said all of that, how many questions do you think this survey will need to include in order to be effective, and what prerequisite questions would you like to ask me before we get started? Now, that might have been a lot. And I kind of want to break down how it is that I prompt any kind of AI requests, because I talk a lot to the people that come into my barber shop, and most of them are just kind of blown away with the way that I use AI, because I just cut hair. I'm not doing anything that's life changing. I make people look better than how they started. And I was talking to a college professor the other day, and he said, "Why are you even doing this?" I was like, "Because I don't have a lot of respect for your profession, in all honesty. It's not that I don't respect universities. They just don't work for me. I want to go at my own pace. I want to be able to learn the way that I want to learn. And there's tools out there now that just allow us to do these things. So if there's something that I want to go and grab, it's my responsibility to go out and get it." So this prompt is basically set up into the four things that I always want to provide the baseline prompt. And that is the context. So I told it about my background and that we would be needing something for a foundational level. I told it what its goal is. The goal is to create a survey that will get more information out of me to better create an educational path. And that was my expectation, is that this is going to create the entire educational experience for me. And then the last thing that I do is I ask for clarity. So I give context. Tell it what its goal is. I tell it what my expectations are. And then I ask for one more time that it can ask me questions for clarity. Because if you think about the way that you have conversations with people in your life, it's a back and forth dialogue. Me sitting here, standing in my room, talking into this is kind of a weird, awkward thing. You don't have one directional conversations. So if you really want your AI to be more effective for you, you need to have dialogue and you need to allow it the opportunity to be able to ask you questions for follow-up. So its response to me was, "Your goal is clear and reasonable. You're not trying to go back to school. You're trying to design a deliberate adult education track that's grounded, cumulative, and potentially vocational." For the survey itself, effectiveness comes from balance rather than length. Too short and it produces shallow signals. Too long and the answers become noisy. In my judgment, an effective survey for the stated goals would land in the range of 35 to 45 questions. That's enough to triangulate interests, aptitude signals, learning constraints, and career realism without becoming fatiguing. Those questions will be distributed roughly as follows. Interest intensity and curiosity patterns will have about 10 to 12 questions. Cognitive preferences and learning style indicators will be about 8 to 10. Temperament and work style factors will be 6 to 8. Practical constraints and risk tolerance will be 6 to 8. And career orientation signals such as credential tolerance, income timelines, and willingness to specialize will be around 5 to 7. But before we start that survey, I need a short set of prerequisite answers from you. They're not part of the survey. They define the operating boundaries the survey is properly calibrated. So here's your 8 questions. It wanted to know my age range. It wanted to know my current work situations, my tolerance for mathematics, my tolerance for formal credentialing, the availability per week that I can reliably dedicate to study for an entire year. What's my financial runway? The preferred mode of output, and what's my risk exposure. Now, this entire process that I'm doing, I'm not simply asking AI, "Hey, give this to me. Just give it to me." I want it to be something that I can be motivated and I'm actually going to be successful in. So I need it to be something that I genuinely am interested in. But that's the dilemma. What am I interested in? I don't know. I really don't know what is the one thing that is going to be the best thing for me. So spent about 5 minutes answering all those questions. And then it gave me the first category of questions. When you imagine having 2 uninterrupted hours to yourself with no obligation to be productive, what type of material do you most often find yourselves gravitating towards? Of the interests you mentioned, which one do you feel drawn to even when it feels confusing or difficult? Think of something you have voluntarily learned as an adult and what kept you engaged long enough to become competent at it. Do you experience more satisfaction from understanding why something works or from being able to use it effectively? When you encounter a complex idea, do you prefer to approach it through examples and concrete cases first or through first principles and definitions? Now, that's just the first series of questions in this survey. And what's interesting about the way that all these questions were posed to me is that they actually required me to be completely introspective. And I needed to sit down and actually think, like, how do I learn? I mean, we all have different ways. Some of us are auditory learners, some of us are visual learners, some of us are tactile learners. But how do you learn and how do you stay engaged? So after answering all of those, it gave me a handful of categories. So that was the first category. The second category of questions were around cognitive style and learning mechanics. Third was around temperament, discipline, and follow through. The next one was practical constraints and career reality. And then we went into directional signals and career leverage. In all of these, it took me around an hour and a half to actually answer the questions after being truthful with myself. Because, when it was asking me how much time can I dedicate to this project each week, it was really easy for me to be like, yeah, I can give it a day. I can give it a whole 8 hours. I can give it my weekends. I've got all this time available. But let's be realistic here. You can't just say this is the time that I have available. We're trying to change habits. We're trying to change what it is that I'm currently not doing into something that I currently am doing. So I can maybe give it an hour a day. Maybe, I've got Wednesdays off, so I can probably give a couple of extra hours. And I really don't want to go into my weekends because that's the time that I spend with my wife. That's the time that we get all of our adult chores done and we can actually be able to focus on making sure our house doesn't fall apart. So I said, realistically, I can give you about 6 hours a week. I think that that's reasonable because I'm not doing anything right now, and 6 hours a week is more time to study on something. And this is going to be a whole year-long process. So the next thing that it did was it asked me a few questions based off of what are the most important things for me. And it really started to understand that I enjoy storytelling. I really do enjoy writing, and it's something that I've been getting back into over the last 2 or 3 months. My business is called The Barber Story, and it all began as a blog. It was me leaving one career, moving into another career, and documenting the experience for people who were sick of working for a corporation and wanted to be able to do something for themselves. Being able to share that story with other people was really important to me. And in the last few years, I've done less writing, and I've been doing a lot more editing of the writing that AI has done because of the prompts that I've given it. And it's been close. It's been kind of me, but it hasn't been me. And, back in October, I sat down and just wrote for a little bit of time and realized this is something that I actually love. This is something that I really enjoy doing, and I do want to get back into it. And that's what this survey pulled out of me is I need to be better at storytelling. So it asked me what's more important. Do I want to do videos or do I want to do writing? And realistically, I've got 2 books that I've been working on. One that I've been working on for probably about 6 years and another one that I've been working on for about 15. The 15-year book, that's a back burner project. That's a stretch goal of mine. But the one that I've been working on for 6 years, I'm having a really hard time ending. So I said, I really want to focus on writing. But if I can get into making videos, I would really, really love to be able to develop that skill set as well. Because I did a podcast for the last year with my dad. I make social media content. So being able to refine that would be good. And ultimately, it was telling me, what we need to focus on is the fact that I am going to study writing and I'm going to study on the fundamentals of writing, learn the philosophy of people. I'm going to learn the way that if you tell a story, how can you tell it in a way where somebody else is hearing your words and can more immediately connect with what it is that you're doing. So we broke this down into quarterly goals, and the quarterly goals were pretty straightforward. We had, where is this at here? Oh, that's not the quarterly goals. Those are the monthly goals. Well, point in case, we decided to make it a lot more structured because that's the kind of mind that I have, is I need a lot of structure. So month 1 is getting straight into the basics, and we wound up doing a whole syllabus for 2026 based off of my needs. And the first month of January is going to be focused on orientation and setting your baseline. The focus is going to be meaning, discipline, as well as adult self-education. And the whole goal of January is to prove you can ship weekly without collapsing. That's where I'm at right now, is the end of my second week making my series of videos. February will go into attention and identity, and the focus will be on distraction, self-image, and motivation. The goal will be to sharpen my hooks and my endings. March is going to be based off of work systems and incentives. It is going to focus on how environments will shape behavior, and my goal will to have stronger applied examples. In April, we'll have belief and narrative, and the focus will be on how people justify choices, and my goal is to make better counter arguments. May, tools and leverage, including AI. The focus will be modern tools as force multipliers. And the goal will be clear clear explanations to non-experts, which is clearly not what I just did. June will be my mid-year synthesis, and we'll revisit my strongest ideas, and we will look at what my coherence across weeks looks like. July will have pressure and failure, so we will put on some stress, avoidance, and risk, and the goal is emotional honesty without me being very self-indulgent. August is authority and voice, and that's me speaking as a subject matter expert. That is my goal, is I want to be able to speak with so much confidence in these videos that I'm making about the things that I'm studying that I can actually convey concepts to you on a regular basis. And I really want to reduce hedging and qualifiers, and I really just want to be able to get to the point. September, the focus will be on ethics and responsibility, so the consequences of belief and action, and my goal will to have a deeper moral reasoning in everything that I'm doing. October will be power, status, and trade-offs, and the focus will be uncomfortable truths, and the goal is to have tighter argumentation. November is integration, and this is how all of the themes of the year connect with one another and being able to make my portfolio ready. December is going to be year-end reflection and positioning, and that's me finding my voice. That is me knowing what it is that I stand for and how to articulate my intellectual niche with clarity. So because I know that I do 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals, this is year one. And for me, I want my 1-year goals to push me towards where I hope to be in 3 years. I visualize who I want to be in 3 years. The person that I am in 3 years should be able to make strides to the person that I'm going to be 5 years from now. But all of this is, I'm about to enter my 40s. I'm trying to use my 40s to create the person that I will become when I enter into my 50s. I want to be a more interesting person, and this is one of the ways that I'll be able to convey that to others. So in my 3-year goal, year one is about me getting my voice, being able to articulate my opinions, and being able to tell my story. Year two, we're going to wind up doing this exact same thing, but we're going to focus it on the Socratic method and Stoicism and a lot of philosophies that I'm really interested in. And if you've ever read Stephen Fry's Mythos, which is a fantastic book, and it's really great in the illustrated version. Also, the audio version is phenomenal because he narrates it. Stephen Fry narrates stories that have been told many times over, but he does it through his lens, and I think that that's wonderful. So what my year two goal is to be able to have found my voice and my lens and tell stories that have been told many times over, but with a little bit of flair from me. So year one is me finding my voice and telling my story. Year two is using my voice to tell stories that have already been told. And that'll set me up for year three, which is me telling the stories of others that don't have the ability to tell the story for themselves. This is when I can be able to move a lot of what it is that I'm doing into offering that as a service for other people. And I want to be completely transparent that that is my goal in this. I have owned a business for the last 10 years, and I really do love talking to budding entrepreneurs, and I go and have coffee with them and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you worked this into your business model? And I love seeing that light bulb just kind of go off on people when they're finally getting an idea that has some teeth. So I would love to be able to refine myself in a way where I can be of benefit to other people. And that's what this whole video series is about, is I kind of want to show you guys the process of how you can use a lot of the tools and technology that's out there for free to better yourself as well. Now, the first thing that I wound up doing, on top of buying all the books that I need for the year, I got a journal. And I started this whole process in, I think, October. And the reason that I started in October is because I know that if you really want to be successful at any kind of change in your life, one, you can't just take it all at the same time. That's the problem with New Year's resolutions that so many people fail, is the fact that they say, oh man, I want to get fit this year. So then they go to the gym and they try to do everything. And they don't realize that just going to the gym is the first victory. Go to the gym a second day, go to the gym a third day, go to the gym a fourth day. Commit to yourself how many days a week that you're going to go to the gym, and just make that victory the victory that you can celebrate. Do that for a month. Then add one element, then add one more element, then add one more element. And by the end of that year, the changes that you'll be able to make can be astronomical. This is one of the things that I've been reading about in Atomic Habits, which is a great book about building good habits, is if you can make a 1% shift of being better than who you were yesterday every single day, by the end of the year, you'll have made a 37% shift towards the person that you really want to be. I have had a lot of people ask me about how it is that I stay dedicated to things. And it's like, well, I don't take it all at once, because anything that I do try and take all at once, I fail 100% of the time. So it's a lot easier for me to build processes and systems that support the goals that I want to have. So this is my 2026 calendar, and literally every single page I wrote through by hand, what am I doing that week specifically? It's not a lot in there right now, but the whole point is, as I'm going through the year, I have it written down so I don't need my ChatGPT to guide me. But every week I have reading material. This year, well, not this year, but this quarter, I have a really short list. I'm going to be reading The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus, Politics in the English Language, which is an essay by George Orwell. I have Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and I have James Clear's Atomic Habits. 4 light books that I'll be reading over 3 months. And every week I'm going to read a portion of one book, and there's a focus that I need to have, as well as a lens that I'm reading those chapters through. So for instance, this week, I'm reading Atomic Habits, chapter 1 through 3, and the lens is systems over willpower. The writing focus is why motivation is an unreliable strategy. Now, what's interesting is, if I was just learning for the sake of learning, I could be doing what my wife is doing. This is my reading list. This is her reading list. She has so much reading to do, and it's not anything that she's going to be teaching anybody. So she is just retaining that knowledge like a sponge. I really need to have some kind of practical application with what it is that I'm doing, and I want to make sure that I'm actually progressing in an area. So I gave myself homework. Mondays are my reading day, and it's about an hour of my day. Tuesday is the day that I have to make a claim and write an outline on what that claim is going to be. Wednesday is the day that I have to write a 600 to 800 word essay every week, all year long. And then Thursday is the day that I will go back into that essay. I will reduce the overall word count by 10 to 15% and kind of make it a little bit more concise. And then I publish it on my website. Once published, I have to do a self-evaluation, and the self-evaluation is basically asking, okay, do I think that I was clear? Do I think that I was being redundant? Did I get the point across? Did I make a claim and then did I defend the claim? So I do a self-evaluation, and then I copy that as well as the essay that was published into the rubric that grades my essay that I wrote. And then ChatGPT will give me a score based off of 1 to 10, and those scores will be used on my quarterly projects when I need to go back to my bottom 3 or my top 3 essays and reevaluate them based off of the lens that we'll be using at that time. Fridays are the day that I have to make a 5 to 8 minute video. These things, this thing that we're doing right now, on what it is that I learned about that week and what my focus was on. But the week's final assignment is, after I've done all of that, I have to answer one very simple question. And that question is, what did you learn speaking this out loud that you didn't know while you were originally writing the essay? Super practical. All of this is so practical. It doesn't take a whole lot of my time, but what it is doing is it's putting me into the habit of writing on a regular basis. And as somebody who wants to have multiple books published, I need to get that habit built up back into my life, because I've let so many of the other things that I've been doing take that time away from the passion that I have. I'm getting good feedback. And I'll be honest, last week's essay that I wrote, I got a 40. My wife was saying that it was some of the most harsh criticism that she's ever heard. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome. It's letting me know that I suck. And it's not a human professor, so I don't think that it's out to get me. I think it's just giving me the constructive criticism as bluntly as it can, so that way, as I go through this process, I will suck less. And that's my whole goal, is to suck less. At the end of the year, I'll have between 44 and 50 published essays on my website that'll let people know that I'm capable of telling stories. And making these videos for you guys is a way that I will be able to demonstrate to myself that I actually do have the competency in being able to hold some kind of one-sided conversation for any amount of time with some expertise. But really, the benefit out of it is that final question, because as somebody who has been a supervisor for agents, as somebody who has taught people physical skill sets in a trade, the one thing that I can say for damn certainty is that you learn more teaching than what you thought you knew in the first place. And having to focus on the question of what did you learn after speaking something out loud, it's a really smart question for somebody that just wants to educate themselves and be able to really reflect back on it. So this has been kind of just an introduction video of what it is that I'm going to be doing throughout the year. I've made my bed. I'm going to be sleeping in it, and I'll be doing videos like this for my weekly reports. So if you guys are really interested in seeing how this progresses, I would really appreciate a subscribe and a follow, or whatever it is that you guys do on wherever it is that I'm posting. If you know some people that are in need of being able to find a way of being able to learn more, but they don't know how, send me their way. I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I do with AI, on how I prompt, how I create surveys to be able to really figure out what the best way that I can approach something is. And I really think that this experiment is going to be interesting to watch as the years progress. So again, I'm Chris. Be well, guys.